All right. Good morning, guys. Morning, Moose. Morning, Cheat. Can't wait to find out how my dynamic duo are doing. Is that me and you? No, just kidding. You mean Ellie and Joel? Well, let's talk about it, shall we? How they did since episode 9 was the finale? Nope. Who do you mean? Who's the dynamic duo? Tell me more. Okay, good morning, everyone. Hello. We are here. I hope that daylight savings is treating everybody kindly. Hey, Seth, Rotten, hello. Um, yeah, let's start this how we always do. So, in this stream, there will be spoilers, obviously, to the Last of Us HBO series for the entire season 1. Now we can say. And there will also be spoilers from the game, but only in the first game. We might very briefly just make a mention to part 2, but we're going to do our best not to spoil that for anyone, especially since there's going to be a season 2 and 3, I think. You're on early considering your action to daylight savings? Well, I mean, I don't really have a choice. I still have to get up at the same time. I'm just complaining about it. I know, Seth. When she was like running through the forest, like even like not to be weird, but like even like her grunting and like everything, I was like, it's Ellie, it's like it's all I could hear. And especially I have the little clip in here, but when she's talking to the baby, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so Ellie. She just has the best voice. Daylight savings has to be in the fucking ringer. I'm sorry, Moose. I hear ya. Um. Okay, so let's start this off. So this episode it's pretty cool. I like how they did this. They started this episode with Ashley Johnson as Anna, who is Ellie's mother. And we all kind of guessed that from I think like the very first trailer. Like, right, we saw Ashley Johnson with a baby and we're all like, that's going to be Ellie's mom. Like we kind of figured this. So it was a really beautiful way to like finish. Like she's in the finale, right? Like she's revealed and in the finale, which is really fun, I think, for Ashley Johnson. I think that's a really good nod. I think Ashley Johnson, out of all the voice actors, probably had the toughest job. Like what she had to do here in like this short amount of time was some serious acting. So crazy. Hey, Chase. Made it in time. She sounds like Ellie. Well, yeah, like it's her voice, right? Like I'm sure she does a little bit to her voice, and I know she had to do a little bit to her singing, but mostly it's like Ellie's voice is Ashley Johnson talking. Diaz, hello. So happy to be here for the finale. Yes. I'm gonna have to find a few controversial opinions if that's yeah, like we can definitely talk. Who's Ashley Johnson? Okay, so this is Ashley Johnson, Moose. A lot of people know her right now because she's also in Critical Role, but she is the original voice actress for Ellie in the game. So when we heard it, like, you know how they had little cameos for everybody, this is who she was. Okay, so we have so we have Anna running through the forest and she's pregnant. And not only she's pregnant, but she's like in labor. Like she's having contractions as she's running in the forest. I'm assuming, I don't know why she's alone. She's obviously running from infected, and that's confirmed later on. But yeah, I don't think it really matters, to be honest, but she's out alone. Uh-oh. Where's my mouse? Here it is. Okay. And then, so she's going through this huge field, right? And we see like a firefly, I don't know, like a safe haven. Like it's definitely like you see the firefly symbol off to the left on the silo. So she's like the fireflies already thing. She either knows of the fireflies or she's with them because she knows Marlene, and she's going to this like safe house. And I think the city in the background would make that Boston, I'm assuming, right? So I don't know if this is like they're heading to Boston, like they had plans to go to Boston, but regardless, she goes into this house to hopefully, you know, be safe. Part 2 style farmhouse. Yeah, actually, I can see that a little bit. Yeah, they've got to be close to Boston. Like I said, I'm guessing that skyline is it. Oh, Ashley Johnson is my favorite voice. She's amazing. I love her. with the tractor in front. That moment. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, Seth, at the very end of this, because I want to talk just a tad about part 2. So I'll give people the option to leave stream at that point, and then we can have some spoilers like there a little bit. But let's save that for the end so that people can actually leave. But yeah, so she goes in here, and I like this because, okay, well, we'll talk about it in a second. So this whole scene was so crazy. I can't believe Ashley Johnson had to do this. So she's in labor, she's being chased, she finds a room, she still like tries to do her best to lock the doors, barricade the doors, and this one infected still makes its way in. And there's this fight scene. Could you imagine this? Sorry, I can't let this go. Okay, it's like if you're an actor, we need you to be in labor, but also fighting for your life, and then give labor, and then like have a baby after murdering an infected. There's a lot going on here. She did a great job. So she fights off this infected. Unfortunately, she gets bit, as we find out. But they gave us an answer to why Ellie is immune. And they never did that in the game, which is cool. So it was really, it wasn't like shocking in any way. Like, I feel like most of us just assumed like, oh, well, we know Anna died within a day of having Ellie. So there's a good chance that she got infected and somehow that passed to the baby. I think we kind of made that connection, but it was nice to have confirmation and then nice to have like a visual, in my opinion. It was a bit of a shock that they had her in labor and fighting an infected. Yeah, like it was like, that was wild. That's crazy. And she's alone, which is just like, why is she alone? Like, how did this happen? I guess it doesn't matter, but it sucks. Probably how my wife would describe labor, to be honest. Just like this. Everything was awful. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is that the only 2 episodes I really liked in these 9 episode series was 2 and 9. You know what's really interesting? 2. Oh, that's with Tess. That's really interesting you say that. I would say that most people, they have some favorites, and I would say those numbers shift and change, like which episodes were their favorites, even though they all played the game. So that's interesting. Okay, so episode 1 could be better. Oh my gosh, I thought the Sarah episode was so good. I wasn't expecting the full graphic representation. Seeing the umbilical cord in other media, it looked like nothing like what they showed. What? The umbilical cord looked real? Looked really real. What was so fake about the umbilical cord? I thought it looked legit. Okay, so she fights off this infected, and she like literally like, because of like this struggle, she like has her baby. And this is amazing because even though we don't really know Anna, we don't really know her from the game, and we don't get much time with her here, but like, I guarantee every bit of fighting, like every ounce of that like bravery and like fight that Ellie has in her comes from her mom, because this is insane. Like what she does here, what she accomplishes, and then her attitude towards it at the end is like nothing. I can't even think of a person that could do that, like what she did, except for maybe Ellie, right? So it's very fitting. I like how strong Anna is and how much that reflects Ellie. I searched for Ashley Johnson interviews just to hear Ellie's voice. Am I mad? That was a joke. No, she's amazing. I love her. Oh, in other media, it was fake. Huh. What other media were you looking at? Obviously, as a single guy with no kids, I've never seen that in person, though. I mean, it's pretty, this is pretty accurate. Yeah, so, like, this one here looks legit, like what an umbilical cord looks like. So my main beef is with episode 3 and the episode with David. Maybe it's because my third world brain, but I have a few things I would point out that I think they mess. You know what's really interesting, Chase? I would say episode 3 and the David one are probably in my top favorite. So it's really interesting that those ones you didn't like. Love the character even though it was for a short time. Yeah. Yes, a great interpretation of Anna, since we only get to know a few. Yeah, we only get to know a couple of recordings, and that was like it. And they did so much. Okay, we all know this, but like we have to talk about this because it's super wonderful. Like the fact that they wrote Ashley Johnson to be Ellie's mom is so it's like it's really rewarding, and it's super symbolic, and it's kind of like this terrible beautiful thing, but right here like you literally have Ellie talking to Ellie, and I love it, and it's so sweet, and like hearing her voice, and like even though I intentionally grabbed this line because hearing Ashley Johnson say this line, it's like, I mean, you hear Ellie in the game talk like this all the time. So hearing Ellie do this, or sorry, I keep saying Ellie, hearing Anna do this is, I don't know, it was really satisfying. And like the way she talks to her baby, and like how quickly she like loves this Ellie, even though she only gets 12 hours with her. Super wonderful. But yeah, she's already like this little infant. She's already like, you fucking tell him, Ellie. You tell him you're mad. You tell him that, you know, you be strong. Like there's a lot in this line, and I love it. And it was perfect. Very, very great. But I think in the game Bill and the game, but I think that the game Bill and the game David were so good, and the series just did I don't think the series did them dirty at all. That's really interesting, Chase. That's fair though. I mean, like there's like if I were to have to like go through like the gameplay step by step with the series step by step for episode 3, and I can't remember David's episode. Oh, it was 8, right? Like there'd be like a couple times where I'd be like, ooh, this part from the game would have been really good in here. But like a lot of it I would have picked from the show for those 2 episodes specifically. Attitude is genetic. Absolutely. Yeah, like her attitude and just the way she speaks. It was just perfect. So great. Also, we get, let me go back to this. We get Anna, and I keep saying Anna in this coat, which we see Ellie in here. I grabbed this one, but like Ellie, at least Marlene handed her off 2 things from her mom, and it was this jacket, because it's literally what she was held in as a baby, and then also the knife, which is super perfect, super sweet. But yeah, so this was actually from episode 3, and you see that jacket, and then you see it here. So she inherited both of those items. In the game, Bill and Joel and Ellie had a great interactions. So that would be one of the things. Like, I'm kind of bummed we didn't get the interaction between Ellie and Bill, but like the trade-off for the interactions between Bill and Frank were so much more rewarding in my opinion. God, they didn't force a last name change in here. Why would they change the last name? Why do you, like, was that like something that people were concerned about? Oh, I didn't know this coat. Yeah, she got the coat because she like literally wraps the baby up in that coat. Okay, and then so we get Marlene. There's a couple of fun things here. So we get Marlene and another Firefly that go here, and they tell her that they were late. They were held up. So again, I don't know if they were like meeting Anna to get her into Boston or what exactly was happening. Doesn't really matter, but we get a couple of things. First off, we get the flashlights, which I think is fun. So they're hesitant to go into this farm building because possible infected, but they're not worried about using their flashlights, which is good because we use those in the game all the time against infected, and the infected aren't like using lights against them doesn't change anything. So I like how they were like holding their lights up, but the front door is locked. So Anna was smart enough in her rush while having a baby to like lock the front door. Obviously she couldn't like barricade the entire place, but she did what she could in such a short period of time. She locked the door, and then we get kind of like this answer of like, okay, well, how did that infected get in? It jumped through the window. And I just like that really quick like scene so we know what happens. Like it tells a lot right there. And then we get beautiful Marlene here who gets to see her. I'm assuming at this point, like, I think this is her, like, I know that they've been friends forever, but like almost her best friend. I assume. And not only is it like, oh my gosh, you had your baby, but also, oh my gosh, you're infected. What do I think about the opening scenes implicate? I think that, like, I was kind of mentioning this. I feel like we all kind of made that assumption. Like, we never got that answer in the game, but I kind of made that assumption. Like, oh, I wonder if her mom was bit and then, like, she had the baby or whatever. Like, I kind of just jumped to that conclusion, so it was nice to get, like, a confirmation about that. But I didn't find it like, oh, what, this is crazy. Like, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I figured this would be the reason. But David's character, honestly, was just so comical. Comical. Whoa, really? So the only thing that I really missed from David's character in the game, opposed to the show, was his voice. So, Nolan, I always forget Nolan's first name. I always want to call him Nate because I think of Uncharted. But, like, he did this, like, raspiness and this lower tone with his voice, which I found eerier. But I thought the whole, like, preacher/teacher thing and, like, the creepy vibes that the actor gave off in the HBO series was so, like, it was, like, just so real feeling. Like, I felt his character was just so eerie, so creepy, so gross. And that's perfect for David. So, yeah, I didn't get comical at all. I think only Joel, Tommy, and Sarah have last names. Oh. Ellie has a last name, and it's Williams. Oh, I missed it. Instead, we got Love Story that doesn't please everyone. Oh, I love the Love Story. It was amazing. And it fits so well because, okay, and we'll talk about it in this. The gameplay of The Last of Us and the show, The Last of Us, is like these ups and downs of literally survival, like terrible moments, murder, rape even, like awful things. And then you get these other moments where you get a break, you get a breather, and you get like a window, like literally you get windows of happiness. Like in this one with the giraffe, it's like, oh, like it's like actually a window. You get a window of happiness. And like Bill and Frank's story was a window of happiness. And you get like you get these throughout the game. And it's in a very intentional pattern, and it's a very intentional theme throughout this because of like that's what this is all about. It's all about love. Like this whole show you can say is about the infected. You could say it's about people hating each other or survival, but ultimately, the underlying theme of this whole Last of Us show, series, everything is love. And like, right there, like, that's what it is. What do you think about the Less Infected, the TV show? Oh my gosh, Diaz. Okay, so here's my whole thing about the infected. There were not enough infected in this. There just wasn't. However, it felt very much, it didn't seem like, oh, we just don't need that much infected. It felt very much like a budgeting issue. And I'm going to stand by that because that's got to be the reason. The budgeting for the infected very much seemed like, okay, we have enough money to do like one major scene. So let's save that for Sam and Henry. Other than that, we can really only handle like one infected like at a time. Like get this actor costume up and like makeup up and whatever. Because we just don't have it yet. We don't, but I guarantee you they're going to have the budget for part 2 because this show did so well. So the problem, like we're kind of talking about overall, and I wanted to do this after this, but it's okay. The problem with this series is there wasn't enough time. There weren't enough episodes, and I don't think the budget was high enough. With that in mind, I think they did an outstanding job with the resources they had. I'm not sure, but whenever I see Ellie's name, it's always been Williams. I think that we saw Less Infected to save time and budget. The 2 big scenes, they did a lot of money based on making this. Yeah. I mean, in game, he was motivated by hunger, first of all, but here he was just a right-winger character. Who are you talking about, Chase? Are you talking about David? I thought the actor did a great job. outstanding job. Evie, like, just felt creepy the whole time. Money, you got the point. That's what it feels like. That really does. Like, you can tell, right? Did you write your complaint letter, Kat? We didn't get a single brick. What the heck? Like, at least just, like, desperation, throw it. Like, give us a laugh about it. I don't care, but give us a freaking brick. Why was there no bricks? Gosh, Seth, you made me mad. I forgot about that. Ellie, that's her name. That's her full name. It doesn't stand for anything. Ellie is her name. I don't think it's short for anything. It stands for belly. Stop. He looked like a depraved, tortured soul that was hungry in a lot of ways, and he'd let hunger get to his head. David, yeah. Chase, yeah. It seems like you got a really different take from David, which you're absolutely allowed, you know. But I had a different feeling for sure. I love David in this show. I like I said, the only thing I really missed was his voice. Okay. We talk a lot about it too, by the way, in my previous review. So let's move forward. So this whole thing, and this room, by the way, did you guys notice that this room was a kid's room, which I thought was really interesting? Ellie's like actually under a tree here too. Or gosh darn it. Sorry, Anna. I keep saying Ellie. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to look at Ashley Johnson and not say Ellie. Well, I guess Ellie's under too. But like this is a kid's room. And, like, just look at this image. Like, it's insane. You have the infected off to the right. She's been sitting here this whole time for hours and hours and hours, unable to feed her child, just holding Ellie and she initially had the knife at her neck because as soon as she turned, she wanted to take her own life. She was going to try, but luckily Marlene came in before she had to do that. Which Ellie Cat, I know, I'm sorry. And there weren't even Molotovs. It's true. So again, Ashley Johnson did such a great job here. But what is so amazing about Anna, again, we learned so much about this character, is she's not crying. She's not panicked. She's not, the only time we see her like even plead is when she's trying to get Marlene to kill her. And Marlene for a moment we thought wasn't going to, but like, this character, this mom is so freaking strong, emotionally, like physically, like insane. Like it's so sad that Ellie didn't get to know her mom because she's one hell of a character. She's amazing. No flamethrower. I know. Okay. But yeah, so I just thought her composure here was amazing. And I think Marlene could have her own full game or story, her own show even. I think this moment is kind of when Marlene has, like, I use this term a lot, but she breaks here. Like, she becomes very broken here. She does not want to kill Anna. But time and time again, and she mentions this in the recordings in the game, and we didn't really get it too much here, this poor character is tested over and over and over again if she's going to do the right thing. And she doesn't like having to make these choices, but in her mind, she always makes the right choice. And it's usually the most difficult choice. So she comes back in here and she does, in fact, shoot Anna. But like the intensity at which she did it was really jarring for me. Like I thought she was at least going to go back in, say her goodbyes, which I want to like highlight this because I think it's important for later on. But like Marlene is very much a person that would rather just like rip a Band-Aid off than like deal with any emotional pain of saying goodbyes, of like just get it over with. So she just goes back in and shoots her like so quickly. It's crazy. Marlene's actor did such, I know, she's so wonderful. I thought the house where Ellie was born was the same house that Ellie, oh, no, because this is in Boston, right? And so in part 2, that's outside of Jackson. But yeah, it looks very similar. I think it was a little nod to that. Was too cold of a kill. It was a very cold kill. That's exactly what it was. Last of Us, Marlene's musings. She has to be cold. Otherwise, she wouldn't be. Exactly. Like, and that was one of her things. Like, I think that's really important. The way, like, her attitude on which she had to kill Anna, it was really important because that is how Marlene is able to keep pushing forward. Because otherwise, I think if Marlene ever, like, took a moment to contemplate or to say goodbyes or to, like, really, like, therapeutically deal with her emotions, she would not be able to be the Fireflies leader anymore. Like, she would just break down. There's no time for emotion. I mean, there was definitely time. Like, she could have said her goodbyes, but she physically can't say her goodbyes. The abruptness made me laugh a little. Oh my. Well, like, it did, like, so I was expecting a conversation, but, like, it definitely didn't make me laugh. I was just like, like, it was so bad. Hey, Joker. Okay, so then we cut to Salt Lake City and Ellie and Joel. And this is very much like the game where Ellie is kind of, like, in a different headspace. She's like, thinking she's not her fun, like, happy-go-lucky kid attitude anymore. The interaction and the moments with David has really changed her. She's just, it hit her hard. And so she's constantly staring off in space and her mind is elsewhere. And this is quite a switch, right? Because as soon as, I really feel bad for these characters because as soon as one seems to be doing better, like I'm talking about Joel and Ellie, the other is pulled down. So we finally get Joel, like, starting to heal a little bit. Like, he's finally accepted that he loves Ellie. He's finally accepted that he can allow somebody else in his heart, and it's making him a happier person, a more talkative person. And now this is when Ellie isn't that person. So they never get to be happy together. And it's really frustrating. I hate this. But it's what happens in the game and it's what happens here. It's so sad. Did you guys miss Anna struggling against turning? Like, she was on, I didn't catch that. No, I didn't catch that. Like, I just saw, like, she was just cry yelling at Marlene. That's the last that I heard. She was just like, gosh, her screams, like, towards, like, to Marlene were awful. I'm surprised we didn't get any time jump markers in this episode. Same issue I had with Left Behind. You know, Seth, yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, I guess the obvious thing is, like, well, we know that we're, like, in the past, we knew that it was Ellie as a baby. And then we know, like, okay, well, now we're back in the present. And the way that they do time in this is like, hey, this is where we're at. We're in Salt Lake City, so pay attention. But yeah, it could have been easier, for sure. Can you say what you're rating from 0 to 10 at the whole? Yes, I will talk about it as a whole at the end. I thought you were going to say 0 to 10 about the puns. On a positive note, I thought that Pedro Pascal's acting was phenomenal in this episode. Oh, agreed. Could totally accept him as Joel. She made a very audible sound and did a weird neck strain after her pleading with Marlene was done. Ah, I didn't catch that. I'll have to rewatch it. Okay, so yeah, anyways, Joel's trying to get her attention. You know, like, he's like, Ellie, like, and she's not paying attention, which is, it's sad. So he gets the Chef Boyardee, which is really sweet. He gets the game Boggle, which is really sweet because Joel's already thinking about the time he's going to be spending with Ellie. Do you remember when they're at the campfire and she asks him what he's going to do in the future? And he doesn't really have an answer because he doesn't think about the future like that because he doesn't look forward to the future. But all of a sudden now, Joel is looking forward to the future. He's looking forward to, heck, playing games with her, and of course he mentions his guitar and him playing, and then even teaching her how to play guitar. So he's, like, excited to live again. And again, I just hate this because now Ellie is, like, knocked down so hard from David that they can't even share this, like, little moment of thinking of the future together. But the guitar is really important, and we learn more about it in part 2, but it's really sweet. If I remember correctly, Joel actually mentions a guitar at this point in the game as well. So yeah, they kind of like copied that. Not copied, but stayed with that trend. Hey, Ananda. Yo. I like that they had an RV in this highway scene. Yeah, because you go into the RV, and that's really fun. We didn't have to go with Joel into the RV here, but, like, he went in, and he looted it, and so, yeah, it was nice. Not only are they emotionally not able to be on the same page, but this is sort of Joel being set up with disappointment, which is a trend throughout most of the story. Huh. I don't know if I would agree with Joel being set up for disappointment from here on out. It's like really hard to talk about without like talking about part 2, so we'll save that for the end. What are your fears? What was your fears about the TV series? Did they come true? What do you love about the series? So I kind of want to talk about all these like all like the arcing themes of the whole show or the whole series at the end. But just to quickly answer your question, the biggest concerns I had were like Bella playing Ellie was a big concern for me. Those kind of like went away the more I saw like her in the trailers and such. I was also really concerned about how the infection was going to spread because I heard rumors that it was going to be different, and it was. Those fears didn't come true. I think Bella did an amazing job. The infection really wasn't a big deal, like on how it spread, especially since the lack of infection there was in this show. And so those were my dislikes. I think my biggest dislikes were the fact that I just feel like it didn't have a big enough budget and it didn't have enough time. But there was so many wonderful things brought to us from this series. I also love the additional dialogue of this series where Ellie said, "I follow you." Yes, I have a clip of that. I wish that was included in the game. Yeah, I thought that was a wonderful thing for her to say. The context of this episode, he is being emotionally built up for the viewer prior to the decision. Being set up for disappointment. But he's not being set up by disappointment from Ellie. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if disappointment is how I would explain what happened. Like, Joel wasn't disappointed. He was, like, committed. But I think I get what you're saying. Okay. And then I just had a picture of this shot because it was just so beautiful. It's very much like the game. You go down the highway. You have these, like, cars on the road. You have the Salt Lake City sign. You have some buildings. And then, like Cheat was saying, you have the RV and everything where you get to loot. It was just beautiful set design. From Ellie for the Worldview. Got it. Okay. And then, so we get this scene, like, Joel is a little chatterbox now, which is, again, it's like, everything is shifted. Ellie's quiet, Joel's a chatterbox. When we meet Joel, Joel's quiet, Ellie's a chatterbox. So the roles have reversed here. And this always shows how they are doing internally, right? But what's cool about this part, you can tell how long they've been together, and you can tell, like, Joel would never make a joke about their safety. And he makes a joke here. So she's like, let me guess. We're going to go sneak into that building. We're going to go to the highest the highest floor we can. We're going to take a look around to see our surroundings. And he's like, no, actually, I found some dynamite and we're going to blow through. And she's like for just a second, she's like, wait, really? And he's like, no. But it's really cool because Joel's trying to joke. Joel is trying to cheer up Ellie. And then we have Ellie, though, that's showing how much she's actually learned from Joel and, like, how good she would probably do on her own. So, like, already Joel has taught her so much, and she knows, like, how to navigate and how to stay alive, which is important stuff. Do you think that this is the best game adaptation as many people claim? It's really interesting you say that, Diaz, because I haven't played every game that has been made into a movie or a show. I will say it's very well done. I said this last night when we watched this. I think this was very good, but it could have been great. There's some things that I feel like, I don't feel like they did anything wrong. I just feel like they weren't given enough money or time. I know I keep saying that, but that's like legit what I feel. If they would have had more money and more episodes, this could have been great. But it was very good. I almost kind of like that it doesn't fully replace the game. Like, I actually really do think it's cool that even if you watch this, you will get so much out of playing the game still. And I think you should if you haven't. Like, this doesn't replace the game in any way. It doesn't. But what it does do, which is really cool, is it brings this story to people who either don't play games or don't play single player games or story games. You know, like this is an HBO series first. And like, you know, so many people liked or watched a lot of the Game of Thrones, but didn't read the books. And I think it's really neat, though, that The Last of Us has a story that I think like everyone should know. And if it stayed just as a game, it would have excluded so many people. And I think this is a really neat way to include them. Pretty sure I've played this level. You jump up the fire escape into the box truck and around the corner. Should be a Dawn of the Wolf poster. No. That was back in, that was back in, Pittsburgh. More money and time. Yeah. I gotta say, the final set piece was just so beautiful. The jungle was very cool. Okay, so, and then we get the ladder scene, which is perfect. I loved this. I mean, the actual set design here is a little different, but in the game too, Ellie, like, again, she keeps spacing out. You finally get her attention. You do your normal thing where you lift her up to go do something, to go grab the ladder so you can get up. And she drops the ladder. And in the game and in this, there's this like slight bit of concern, like, what the heck is going on? Why did she just leave us? And then you have to like fiddle around with this ladder, which is making you take more time to like go see what's happening. And because you're given that like time, Ellie gets ahead of you. You have like these little concerns for a moment. And then it's just like, it reveals like the most beautiful scene in the game and the show. This was like, boop, like just plucked out of the game. This is the window of happiness. And there's bricks to the right hand side. They were so close. But yeah, this was done perfectly. Like the giraffe, the conversation here, the little brief moment where Ellie is happy again, and you get a scene of her smiling and laughing and just being a kid, and like you, the player, got a moment of downtime before this like crazy hospital moment that you have to experience. It's just a beautiful like little piece, like it's like literally like a little bubble that's just, it's so well done. I think The Last of Us should be a book and lecture for high school. The Last of Us 2 should be. Okay, here you go. Last of Us could be a lecture for high school, like a conversation thing. The Last of Us 2 would be like a college course that you guys can analyze and break down, and like legit, you could teach an entire segment on The Last of Us Part 2. I can't believe the giraffe is real. Really? As soon as I saw it, I was like, dude, that's a real giraffe. Especially when you see it eating and like it's sticking its tongue out. I was like, that's so cool. They got to feed a giraffe. Window of happiness. It is. It's like this one little moment. Yeah, it wasn't like, I saw it and I was like, that's a giraffe. That's a real one. You guys got to go to the zoo. You can feed giraffes at the zoo. I do think that like Ellie's smile here is actually like Bella Ramsey's legit smile. Pretty excited that she got to feed a giraffe. There's one small beef I have with episode 9. So in the game, Joel was getting drowned in the bus, and we didn't get that. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about that big time here. It's a time constraint. Like, I'm sorry, but it's a time constraint, and I keep mentioning this, but it's a problem. I don't think it'll happen in season 2. I think they'll get as much time as they want and as much money as they want, because they'll be like, just do it right. And they'll be like, yes, we will do it right. Thank you. This is like the abridged version. Like, I kept making the joke last night, but this season felt like a speed run of The Last of Us. Like it legit was just like, go, we're going forward. We're just going to keep moving. Just go, go, go. Like the whole time. I know the budget wouldn't allow it, but it was just so good. Yes, I agree. And because of that, it led to some other things that we'll talk about. They removed Ellie's swimming weakness completely. The weird thing, though, is they didn't. They talk about it in episode 1 or 2 or whatever when they're with Tess. And it was just like, why? We'll talk about it. I'm getting flustered about it already. Look at the giraffes. We're happy about the giraffes right now, okay? We're not getting to the swimming. And then this beautiful like scene where we get in the game. And what's really cool, and she mentioned this a lot too, is you can spend as much time as you want on this rooftop. It's really quite relaxing, quite beautiful. And it's like this moment, and you can feel it. Like you can feel it. Like you get this moment before things happen in the game that change everything. So Naughty Dog really lets you experience this as long as you want to. It's really sweet. We can't do these 9 episodes this season, even if season 2. Oh, I think they've already confirmed that part 2 will at least be 2 seasons, from what I understand. I've heard that. I don't know if that was just like requested or if it was actually confirmed, but can you figure out which is CGI and which is the true giraffe on the scene? I know the giraffe that they fed was real. I don't know about the ones walking away. Probably most of those were CGI. One second. All right. So, this moment, like Joel feels it too, like what I was saying, right? Like you get this moment where you know that something's going to change forever past this. I feel like Joel kind of knows this, like he senses this, or at least that, let's say everything went right with the fireflies. Let's say that he found the fireflies. They were like, yeah, let's just grab some of Ellie's blood. And then like he still feels like he would lose her in some way. I think like maybe Ellie would go with the fireflies. Maybe something goes wrong or whatever. Maybe my assistance is no longer needed. My protection is no longer needed. So Joel feels like he's coming to the end of this mission, but he doesn't want to separate from Ellie. So he brings up the option of like, we can go home. We can go back to Jackson and we could just live out our lives. And she's like, no, we've made it this far. But what was neat, and it was already mentioned, in this show, instead of in the game, we get Ellie actually confirming that she would follow Joel after this mission. Like, this isn't the end. Like, okay, I delivered the cargo, bye. Like, it's not like that. Like, no, they've made a connection, and she's like, I'll follow you wherever you go. I thought that addition in that conversation was nice. And you see Joel, like he was concerned before that Ellie wouldn't want to be with him, and he gets that, like, he acknowledges that, oh my gosh, no, like we're together for the rest of our time. Like, this is gonna be us. And it's really sweet. Kat, what about you? Fed a giraffe? Yeah, I fed a giraffe before. I've been to the zoo many times. I actually fed a giraffe in Texas. I haven't done it in Colorado. But we do have zoos that allow you to do it here. Naughty Dog's way of saying, do you want to progress? No turning back. You could just turn off the game here. Yeah, the alternate ending for The Last of Us, if it just ends with the giraffe scenes for people, and then they just turn off the game forever. The end. Yeah, 9 season is not agreed, Taylor. Absolutely. He tweets. So yeah. So I thought that was really sweet. I like that addition. So Ellie likes Joel. Oh, I didn't grab like any of the image beforehand. Okay, so sorry. So they leave that building. They go down and they find the tent setup that was actually from the army, not Fedra, for like any medical assistance or aid, which obviously didn't last long. But we get this additional speech this was never in the game. I think that this was what they replaced here is they replaced Ellie giving the picture of him and Sarah. She took it from from Tommy earlier in the game. And she gives it to him here. And finally, Joel will actually accept this picture. He did not accept this picture when Tommy tried to give it to him because he never made peace with himself with what happened with Sarah. So it's a big moment in the game because you find out he has made peace with the fact that Sarah's gone. He now takes the picture and like will remember Sarah for all their like good memories and like their happiness opposed to just like her death. But here it's replaced with this thought that Joel tried to commit suicide, which I thought was a richer, better story and a more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sensitive, but when you're trying to like give somebody like very personal information, the fact that he opens up to Ellie like that is a huge deal. So I thought this was a better addition. I think this was a good change here. Immediate next area, super stocking up for what's ahead. Do you ever see a giraffe in real life? I fed a giraffe just like Ellie did when I was at the zoo as a child. What color giraffes tongues have? Giraffes have black tongues. I have seen many giraffes and I have fed a giraffe. Yeah. I'm surprised we got no mention of Joel's wife. You know, we got a little mention of that in Colorado in the game, and he didn't really talk about it that much. All we know, it felt very much like, what I got from it was, I don't even know if they were married. Were they actually married? They were young. I know that. Like, they were really young. It seems like they had their issues as younger couples do. They had a baby probably accidentally, and then Joel took on the role of being a single parent for whatever reason. And like after I heard just a brief bit about Sarah's mom, I kind of didn't care anymore. Like I was just like, this person wasn't important in anyone's life that we know. So interesting, don't care. And I feel like that's like kind of the purpose. Like, yeah, there's a story there, but it's not much of a story and it doesn't affect anyone here. Yeah, and we still got a personal moment here. We didn't get the photo, but we still got a super personal moment. Yeah, and it also reaffirms Joel's character. You find a way to keep going. So here's my thing, and I like this too. So, and they talked a little bit about this on like after the show, but Ellie thinks she understands, right? Like she thinks like, okay, yeah, I get it, because Ellie's down in the dumps now, like to put it lightly. And so she's like, yeah, I get it. Time heals all wounds, I guess. And Joel's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, there is no amount of time that would have healed Joel's wounds. What it was is Ellie. So people heal wounds. A reason to want to live heals wounds, not time. Because if he was alone the entire time in that apartment in Boston doing his normal drug dealings and weapon dealing or whatever, he would have never found peace. So it was Ellie that brought him peace. Is there a part in the game where Ellie asks about Joel's wife and he sighs and he says too much and Joel says too much? Yeah, I remember that. That was in Colorado. I just feel like from what I gathered, they were really young because I think I did the math at the time. Like, Joel would have only been, like, young 20s, like 21 or 22 when they would have had Sarah or something. And what I got from that was they had a baby and she left him. She was just like, I didn't want this. I didn't want this marriage. I didn't want to be tied down to this. That's how I took it, because unfortunately, that's not an uncommon thing to happen. But yeah. Who knows? Who knows what happened to Sarah's mom? Okay, so me being a foreigner, non-American, I have a question I'd like to ask. Ever since I played The Last of Us 1, I've always wondered, is the University of Eastern Colorado a real thing? So the Eastern Colorado University is not. However, they're referencing Colorado State University, which is in Fort Collins. I actually attended there. Their mascot's the ram. I think it was a ram in this too. But it's a little weird. So it's funny that they say Eastern Colorado because the further you go east, the further you get from the mountains. Like, it's actually very flat in Eastern Colorado. But if you... CSU is just north. So you kind of are like along the mountains, and in the game, like the mountains are right there, very much like how CSU is. But if it was Eastern, they wouldn't be there. You wouldn't see them that close. So no, it's not a real thing. However, they were referencing a real university. Which is interesting because CSU is known for their veterinary medicine, which is why they would have had actual labs set up with monkeys and such, because, like I said, a very big veterinary, like their whole thing is veterinary medicine. And so, like lab monkeys would have, it's very likely that would be a thing. Can you share your thoughts about season 2? You play I did play the both games. Can you tell us what you think about the season 2 TV show change? Oh, like what they're going to change? Go Bighorns. No, Rams. Yeah, they do say that is what it is. They call them Bighorns. I'd love to live in the U.S. There's some really great places in the U.S. There's some also not great places, but there's a lot of great ones. Yes, we will talk about season 2 here in a bit. Do they experiment on infected monkeys there? I never got that far in my veterinary medicine career, but I could tell you that there's a lot of like dissections and stuff. I never got that far. The U.S. is so beautiful. You guys are lucky. There are many. Colorado is beautiful. I know that. I've been to a couple of states where I was like, ugh, I would hate to live here, but that's just me. Okay, so then we get this so after that moment, he's like, you can still tell that Joel's trying to like cheer up Ellie, right? He's like having these like, let's hear some puns. Like he's in the mood for puns. This is a different Joel, right? Like Joel is like, he's like healed. And I love this because like, this was just really cool framing. I love how you see the guys in the background running, which are fireflies, we learn, and then they throw a smoke grenade? Flash grenade? They throw a grenade of some sort. I don't know what it does. There was a loud bang, but nobody died. People are going to love it. It's a leisurely activity that you can do in the post-apocalypse. Yeah, Ron. Golfing. Okay, so we get this moment, and so this was like, as soon as I saw this guy running in the background, I was like, there goes the infected scene, there goes the bloater scenes, there goes the bus scene, the water scene, the almost drowning scene, it's all gone. Like, it's just like, as soon as I saw this guy, I was like, those are the fireflies. So, it's a flash. Thank you. So, we lost so much from that happened in the game. And I get why, again, they had to push forward. But here's my complaint. Ellie not knowing how to swim was a continuous theme in the game. And they mentioned it at the beginning of this series, so I thought it was going to be used in this series. It wasn't. Like, her not being able to swim was never a problem in this show. The issue I have with that is it's mentioned so frequently in the game. And you constantly, like, Joel has to go swim to places, grab like a pallet for her to get onto so she can safely make it across. You're constantly being reminded that this girl cannot swim, which leads to the end. And in the end, it comes down to Joel almost drowning and Ellie jumping in to save him. Huge, huge deal. There's two moments. She jumps in the water with Sam, right when they get separated from Sam and Henry, which shows that she trusts him. And then the second time she jumps in because Joel's worth saving. And so we didn't get that in this. In the game, we got that, and I think that you miss a lot there. The other really big important thing about that is when he pulls Ellie out of the water, she's already unconscious, and he's at that point administering CPR and chest compressions, but she's out when the fireflies grab her. She is not unconscious when the fireflies grab her here, which completely, in my opinion, changes this entire end. Not gonna lie, I was so engrossed with Ellie and Joel. I honestly didn't even see that. Really, on your first watch, it's just well framed. It's really well done. But that's perfect because they didn't notice either. And so, like, if you didn't notice and they didn't notice, you can understand how they were distracted too. In the games, there's information that infected ape attacked a human and gets infected. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Even though we didn't get the infected subway and Ellie almost dying with the time, I think they had a, right. And so again, like, I think it's okay. But this is why this show ended up being very good and not great, in my opinion. It's just because of these darn time constraints. It's like, it's a speed run. Like, we just had to keep pushing forward so many times that it was just like, it's like an abridged version of everything. And I really liked that scene in the game. And like Joel almost dying and like Ellie jumping in to save him was major. Having her already unconscious from near drowning when they were, yeah, the swim problem never mentioned was also a problem for me. Yeah, like, it's just so weird that and not to mention that, but then you get this like really, okay, and just to briefly mention part 2, you get this really beautiful moment where you see how much Joel has taught Ellie. Okay, and the swimming thing comes up into that. Like, I think that's a missed opportunity. Now you're spitting facts. You think it was completely rushed? I feel like I feel like they were so limited on time. They had to sit down and look at the entire game and story and be like, frick, we have to have this part, this part, this part, this part. What parts can we abridge or take out? And I just feel like that was the pressure that was put on them. I don't think they necessarily wanted to do that, but I think that's what they had to do. Okay. So then we have Joel wake up, very much like in the game. He wakes up in a hospital room, and we have Marlene there. And here's the problem, like we just said. He's like, where's Ellie? She's fine. She's fine. Not a scratch on her. She's mostly worried about you, asking how you're doing. I'm sorry, what? Ellie's conscious? Ellie's asking about Joel? Excuse me, you didn't let Ellie see Joel? Like, this is already making the Fireflies way worse in this show than in the game, in my opinion. like before, it was kind of like, but now I'm like, nope, you done messed up. Like, this was way messed up. Ellie was conscious. She was chatting with the Fireflies, and then they lied to her, or at least misled her, and put her unconscious, like, against her will or without her knowing. That's crazy. Like, that shifts this whole end to me so much. And Marlene, so much. Like, I cannot root for the Fireflies even a little bit now, because this was wild. What I enjoyed the most, the game or the... Oh. Can you tell us what I enjoyed most, the game or the TV series, or what I enjoyed most in the TV series and the game? So I enjoyed the game the most, hands down. And it's just because I got so much more time with them, and I got to be Joel. And I think when you get to be Joel, it makes these decisions at the end weigh so differently on the individual, which I just think is so cool. Like, it's like kind of awful that you have to make these decisions, but you're the one making the decisions. Like, yeah, it's Joel, but it's kind of like you making the decision. The fact that they have Ellie awake, conscious, talking, and then don't even give her consent. Big problem, right? Bad guys. You guys are the bad guys. Like, you just blew it. So, okay, I'm rambling about this a lot, but in the game, what happens is Ellie almost drowned. She's unconscious. They grab her, and they just keep her unconscious. They find out that, like, yeah, this is Ellie and Joel, whatever. We're just going to perform the surgery. We're just, like, she's already asleep. Let's just keep that going. Let's not add more emotion into this. And it was kind of like that moment where you're like, I don't think that was the right thing to do, but this is a problem. Because there was so much opportunity here for at least Joel and Ellie to say their goodbyes. And Marlene took that away from them very deliberately. Big problem. The ends justify the means, bad guys. Can we get the John Wick fight choreography people for season 2? The slow-mo gun scenes did not work for me. You mean like the montage? It's worth rambling. I think so too. It's so crazy. It's such a big change. So here's the thing. Like, we learn about Marlene so much here. Like, and again, if you take into account what we hear over these recordings in the game, where we get to experience Marlene's, like, the hate of having to make these terrible decisions. However, she always makes the cold decision that will always benefit the world. Whereas Joel will always make the decisions to benefit, unfortunately, himself. Like, I hate to say it like that, and I can't even say that I disagree with Joel doing that. Joel has given up on the world. He at one point gave up on himself, but now he hasn't given up on himself, but he still doesn't care about the world as a whole, right? Like, it's not, there's just different people. Like, if it were Tommy doing this, I feel like Tommy would have let Ellie die here, right? Even if Tommy made a connection with Ellie, Tommy was the guy that we learned, like, went to war. He always wanted to be a hero. He wanted a bigger change. Like, he wanted to be part of a bigger change. Joel wants happiness for himself and the people he loves. He's very, like, isolated with his happiness, and he prefers it that way. So these two, like, Marlene should have been the one to really love Ellie. She was Anna's, like, best friend. She was supposed to take care of Ellie. She was supposed to do everything for Ellie, but she ended up not being that person for Ellie. Joel did. Kat, I gotta go. Bye, Chase. Thanks for hanging out. You enjoy game. You're still my people. Ellie could have woken in the game, but they didn't allow her to ask for consent. So personally, don't see the ethical difference in the show. With that said, so, like, here's the difference. Yes, they could have let her wake up, but it's one of those things where it's like, she's already unconscious. Let's just keep her sleeping, right? Opposed to, oh, guys, here, yeah, hi, I finally found you guys. We traveling all this way, and, like, she's, like, literally talking to you. Like, one is, like, they're kind of protecting themselves to feel better. Like, she's already out. Let's just keep her out. She would have wanted this anyways. Whereas this is like, you could have legit just talked to her. You could have let her just say goodbye. Like, they're very similar, but I think it shifts the Fireflies to being like, yeah, they're bad guys too. Nope, you're bad. Like, that was bad. Just, like, it just over the edge, in my opinion. It will be multiple seasons. Okay, I thought that was confirmed. Good. I wonder if the show Marlene having to be so cold in killing Anna is part of why they took her this direction. I think how cold she had to kill Anna it's just more proof. It's like, that's what we got instead of the recordings, right? Like, she has to keep making these decisions, and it's always to better everyone else. It doesn't make her feel better. Like, Marlene's a very selfless character, which is crazy because she is very cold. But she makes these choices because, you know, the death of the few death of the few outweigh the death of the many. Like, she's very much that mentality. Even though it's literally killing her inside. Like, she doesn't want to deal with this, but she's like, you know what? I am also a sacrifice in this. I am also, you know, I might not physically be dead at this point, but I'm dead inside. And that's one of the sacrifices that had to be made for this. Like, she's very selfless, whereas Joel's very selfish. What would you do being in play? I would have saved Ellie. I'm with Joel on this one. Mostly because, like, they didn't even give Ellie the choice. Now, I see Joel's reluctance and, like, hesitation to tell Ellie the truth because it's already done. He already made the decision for her because she wasn't able to make the decision for herself. That's not Joel's fault. That's the Fireflies' fault. If the Fireflies would have given her the choice, hey guys, let's sit down and talk. Ellie, this is the truth. This is what's going to happen. Joel wouldn't have been able to do anything about that. Because even if he, like, straight up in that office while Ellie, because remember, Joel never shows his darkest sides to Ellie. Ellie's never around when that happens, or she's unconscious, right? So if he would have had her right there, conscious in front of him, and she makes a decision, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Even if he took everybody out and took Ellie with him, it still would have ruined their relationship because Ellie would never have been able to forgive him. So that wouldn't have really been an option. Do you know what I mean? So the lack of Ellie giving any type of consent is the real problem, which is the Firefly's fault. It's Meatball Cat. The point is moo. Do you think Joel would have expected Ellie's choice to be the... So no, I do not think so. But he wouldn't have had a choice. Like I just was saying. Because then you're no longer respecting Ellie in front of Ellie. But if she's unconscious... Like, everybody abused the fact that Ellie was unconscious. The Fireflies did and Joel did. That's a problem. Yeah, so, like, it would have went one or two ways. Joel either would have let it happen and he would have been heartbroken. And there's a good chance that Joel would have maybe then killed himself afterwards. He might have committed suicide if this happened to him a second time. Because I don't think Joel would have been able to handle the heartbreak a second time of losing another child. Or he would have went full Rambo again, killed everybody, but then Ellie and him would have split ways way earlier. Either way, it would have been a lose-lose for Joel. Could not off the surgeon, though. There's no choice after that either. Yeah, but also the surgeon was kind of threatening him with a scalpel. So you don't threaten Joel. Like, we've learned that. Just don't threaten Joel. Stupid. Jerry. Sorry, what? Yeah, a guy runs at me with a scalpel. I'm going to shoot him. It's a moo point. Moo. It's a joke. Sorry, Drew understood. It's a Friends joke. Joey says it's a moo point. And he explains why he thought it was moo, because it's a cat. Never mind. Anyways, great clip if you haven't seen Friends. Why no chat on screen? It stopped working. Like, it was like being weird last stream. And like it wasn't displaying anything. So I don't know what happens, but something needs to be reset, I'm sure. Okay. Anyways. See, and this, we didn't tell her. We didn't cause her any fear. Like, what kind of an answer is that? Like, it's so ridiculous. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you doing the right thing? You didn't cause her any fear? Like, get out of here. That's not her choice. It really made me mad. It made me mad in the game. It made me extra mad here. Yeah, it's so bad. Like, she's trying to reason with herself and Joel, but like she knows like it's so stupid. Like what she says here is so bad. It's just so, and this is what I was kind of talking about. I promised her mother that I would save her. So she's saying like she does understand. And I think in the recordings we find out like it's actually one of the reasons that Joel is allowed to like continue on is because Joel is one of the few people that understands this tough decision that she has to make. But they she says she has no choice. Like she says, I have no choice. And Joel's like, yeah, you keep telling yourself that. And Joel's like, you know what? You do have a choice and I have a choice and I'm going to make my choice. And he never regrets he never regrets the choices that he makes in this hospital. He regrets having to lie to Ellie, but he does not regret what he does here. And I think that's so important because Joel's whole life, you know, since the infection started was having regrets, feeling like a failure, not doing what he could to save the one he loves. And so he will not let himself experience that again. And he doesn't care that he killed 30, 40 people. He doesn't care. He just cares that he saved the person that he loved and he didn't fail this time. So really cool stuff. They have like the same, they're both dealing with Ellie, the life of Ellie, whether it's like this really complicated topic and Joel makes one decision and she makes the opposite and Joel wins out. Will Jerry be redeemed? Joel's face is how I felt. This one, like, what the frick? Like that. I seen Friends season 1 through 10. Always back to the last. Anyways, back to the Last of Us. Do you remember that part, tweets? It's a moo point. It's a really great clip. Rewatch it. It's so fun. She's like, does that make sense? Sorry. Now I'm going to quote Friends, but Rachel's like, have I been living with Joey too long or did that make sense to everybody else? Okay. Then we get the moment where they're escorting Joel. I kind of liked how there was 2 here. In the game, there's only 1 guy escorting Joel, but it made it extra cool that Joel, 2 against 1, and Joel still wins out without a weapon. So, well, I mean, he gets a weapon, but like, pretty cool. Yes, Pedro did a wonderful job. Joel went commando? What? Oh, I was thinking like, all right. Never mind. Different version of commando. So what's really crazy is in the game, he pins one of the guards. He pins the guard that was escorting him against the wall. It's so hard to watch, but he has the gun, like the handgun, right up to his, like, just to the left of his groin. So it's like right in his thigh hip area. And he's just like, he says the same thing. I don't have time for this. And he shoots him right there in the thigh, like at point blank. It's so cold. He does it here. Little different. He shoots him in the leg. The guy collapses. Still get the crazy line of, I don't have time for this, and shoots him, which, so glad they left that in. Really good. Yeah, going commando is an interesting slang here in the U.S. Yes, I know. You mean went Rambo. But yeah, so this line, so glad we got this. He takes out the 2 guards. He very intentionally grabs Ellie's knife. I like how they showed that piece of Anna that still gets carried on. Like, it's really interesting too that Marlene was going to give him that knife instead of Marlene carrying it. I think like Marlene didn't want any, like, kind of like Joel. Like, remember when Joel didn't want a tangible reminder of Sarah? Like, he didn't want the picture. I think that Marlene didn't want a tangible reminder of Ellie because she didn't like having to kill off Ellie either. And so, like, she's like, just give the dagger to him. He has an emotional connection. Let him have that or whatever. And I think that was an interesting little addition there, and I liked that. Yes, and he looks for the signs to see where pediatric surgery is. Yes, I like that too. So while I played the game, I didn't know, like somebody actually mentioned after the fact that you could actually look at the signs like on the wall and it'll tell you where pediatric surgery is, and then you know that you have to go up a certain amount of flights of stairs to get to Ellie. It's linear, so like even if you don't see that sign, you still get there. But somebody mentioned that the signs are there, and in here you actually get a visual of the sign, which is fun. Who played Sarah? It would be nice to see the actress who played Sarah, Hannah Hayes, short cameo. In this? Yeah, like Marlene wants nothing to do with it. She's like, I don't want anything. Yeah. Or even a reminder of Anna as well. That's a good point. That's a good point, Nick. I don't have a lot of clips from this montage, but we get a very quick, cold montage of Joel taking out everybody in this hospital. Okay, what I loved about this, we got a lot of, this sounds terrible, we got a lot of killing though, which we didn't get any other times in this series where we had to go through and kill a lot of either infected or hunters or whoever, right? Like, we didn't get that in the game, in the show, because it's like, well, that's the part of the game that you play. Like, you kill a lot of things. We got it here. And I think because we didn't get it earlier and we got it here, it just adds more, like, intensity and weight to the fact that, like, Joel's, like, he's murdering a lot of people. He's murdering even people that are like, I put my gun down. Like, I'm giving up. He'll still shoot them, like, point blank right in their head. Like, it's super cold. Again, Ellie's not around to watch this. This is the darker side of Joel. So that's what I liked about this. What I didn't like is the lack of, I guess, like, how much of a challenge it was to get through this. Joel's, like, standing almost the entire time. A couple of times he, like, takes, like, a little bit, like, he hides behind a wall for a moment while he reloads. But we lose, like, he almost is a little too superhero-y here for me. We lose the fact that, like, he's risking his life, almost dies a number of times. The Fireflies aren't a weak group. They're fighting back pretty freaking hard with all that they've got against Joel, and he still makes it through. So I think that we missed a little bit of the, like, the fact that what he accomplished was nothing, like, less than amazing. And really scary. Like, this didn't feel scary for Joel. It felt like a guy with the gun going through a hospital against, like, it almost felt like they were unarmed. Like, there was a couple shooting back, but mostly it just felt like a massacre. And that's not what it was in the game. It was hard to get through this zone. I think at this point, Joel has accepted Sarah is gone, and now Ellie is his goal. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I like this montage. Ruthless. Just wish it was shown a bit more taxing or dangerous to be like but it's like the Terminator. That's exactly my thoughts, Punished. It felt too easy for him. So the Fireflies are the worst. They legit lost to one guy in the middle of their base. Yeah. Pascal does actually have bad knees, I believe. Does he really? I always made that joke while playing Joel because I was like always crouched. And I was like, this poor man's knees. But like, yeah. I mean, you don't even have to have him crouched behind things. But like give him less comfort in just like literally walking down a hallway shooting. Again, I liked the montage. I liked how cold he was. I liked how we got a lot of killing. I just feel like we lost a little bit of like how hard this actually was for Joel. Like, this was hard to do. Now he isn't a superhero. He doesn't have brick powers. Right? Where are the bricks? Got the same feeling that the shot scene with the Fireflies was too easy. Yes. See, that's how I feel too. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Something about... Oh, another part I really liked about this, if you watch it again, in this montage, so I just really enjoyed... There was a couple of things that, like, really felt cool, like, that matched the game. So... He gets the gun from the guard that he kills. He gets some ammo from the guard. Like, he literally gets down, loots the ammo. His gun runs out of ammo. He drops that gun, grabs a new gun from somebody new he's killed, to then use that gun to continue on. That gun runs out of ammo. He drops that gun. He grabs a handgun, which is what he's left with in the surgical room. And I just really like that because that's how, in the game, like, if you run out of ammo, like, you go and you don't find a new gun, but you find new ammo. Like, you go down and you, like, loot these bodies you're killing, which is what he does here, which is cool. In the militia and the KC was better than them. Yeah, like, they were scarier, right? So it's kind of like, I think it just lessens how powerful and how strong the Fireflies were. And it doesn't give a good reason on, like, why the Fireflies have made it this far and, like, how big of a threat they were. Like I mean, you had like a 12-year-old making bombs in a mall, but like for some reason your entire Firefly fleet in this base weren't ready. It makes it a little different feeling. So then we get this scene, which I love this hallway. Actually, I hate this hallway. Emotionally, I hate this hallway, but I love how this hallway's in here. You have the pediatric surgical ward, so you know, like, that's why there's the kids' art on the wall. When you play The Last of Us Part 2, you'll see this hallway again, and it's a very symbolic hallway. I think it's really important that this hallway was here, and we get this over-the-shoulder shot. You also get some open doors here and there, which are nice because, like, in the game, this is where you find some more Marlene's recordings. So you, like, go and you search here. You learn a little bit about Anna. It felt very familiar. And at the end of the hall is where the room is, like the surgical room. So I like the composition of this, and I like how it was included here. I'm not sure if the actual what's painted on the walls match what's in the game, but I do know that there are animals painted on the wall. So that's cool. Hey, Kat, I'm just got on. Ashley Johnson did a great job. She did so wonderful. Ashley Johnson is 39 years old, and she doesn't have kids in real life. Is she married? I knew she didn't have kids. I was actually surprised that she doesn't have kids because, like, I feel like the way, like, even she, like, carried her stomach and stuff and was running through the forest, like, the whole, like, even the way she was holding the baby. So, like, she just did such a great job. Can you recommend this TV show knowing the game is better for someone who doesn't play the games and wishing they have the same vibe? So here's what I would say. This show is great for people who will not play this game. Like, I think, like I said at the beginning, I think the more people who know about the story of The Last of Us, the better, because this is such an amazing story. And if I can only get people to experience this story via this show, then that's going to have to be good enough. But I would prefer them to play it. This show does not replace the game in any way, shape, or form for me. And not to be one of those people, like, the book was better, but the game was better. And you get different feelings because you're actually there, you're in it, you're playing it, you are Joel, and it's longer, and, like, it's just wonderful. But there are a lot of people who watch HBO that will never pick up a controller to play a video game. They will never, experience the game. So this was a good way to at least let them in on this wonderful thing that is The Last of Us. Will we see this hallway again in season 2 and 3? I would hope so. Reminds me, I like how Ellie knew how to fire the rifle when she came across David. Yeah, and so I talked about that a little bit, but it's actually set up the exact way as like when Joel was teaching her against the little dummy they made. It was really cool the way they paralleled that. The game is better. And J-Ron, that's actually happened. So like the sales of The Last of Us went up really high at the I know at least when this series started. So a lot of people did play this. In fact, I know someone who was like, this started, they're like, this is actually a pretty good show. Played all of 1, and I literally handed her part 2 yesterday. She came by my house, and I was like, here's part 2, and she's like, cool, thanks. And I was just like, this girl has no idea what she's getting into, as I like waved goodbye. I was like, call me if you need to talk. So it was crazy. So we get this wonderful scene. Oh, and what's her name? Lauren Bailey? I'm so sorry, I forgot. So we get a little cameo here. I didn't notice it. Dave Blueberry noticed it. And then it was confirmed. The woman off to the right in the mask is the voice actress for a main character in part 2. I could say her name. Her name's Abby. So it's really cool. She's got a little cameo in here. It's kind of important that she's in this room. But this is very similar feeling to the game, right? Joel walks in. He's like, stop what you're doing, whatever. And then we have this one guy, the actual surgeon, who decides to threaten Joel, which, stupid. Don't do that. Bad idea. So Joel shoots him. His name is Jerry. Jerry's dead. No bows, no bricks, no water. I know. I still haven't played the game of The Last of Us 2. Am I gonna have to play it? Have you played 1 and not 2? You need to play 2. Like, it's so weird recommending 2 to people. Like, I feel like I'm just like, you have to play that game. But then I also feel bad for making them play the game. I said this like in my total review at the end, but it's masterfully done. But Naughty Dog will rip your heart out and then just make you feel so much. It's wild. It's wild. It's the best game I've ever played in my life, though. She's Ite? Who's Ite? Joel spares the nurses. It's a choice you get to make in the game. It is a choice you get to make in the game. I didn't know it was a choice. I killed everybody in this room. It happened. Okay? I've never played both. Oh, you got it. Just call off of work. Just next 2 weeks. Get both games. Play them both. Call me. Come back in here and talk afterwards. Are you one of those that hate part 2? Oh, I loved part 2. I'm one of those. I thought don't get me wrong. I was very sad and I went through crazy emotions while playing the game, and I thought it was like there's so many heartbreaking moments, but it was also beautiful, and I just think it was so well done. Again, I found the abruptness of Joel just shooting the doctor kind of funny. It was a little quick in my opinion too. Even I hesitated when I entered this room. He had the scalpel, but he wasn't approaching Joel, and he wasn't approaching Ellie. He was just like, stay back. But he didn't come closer. I waited in the game and I was like, is this dude gonna put that down? I have a gun. And he never put the weapon down. So I was like, I'm shooting you. You made the choice. Some people said if Abby will show up in season 2 of The Last of Us show, they will not watch the show. That's the stupidest. Sorry. Was that too blunt? All right. So let me talk about season 2, because let me finish this up. We're almost done, and then I will talk about season 2, and then I will let people leave who haven't played so that they don't get anything spoiled. So he shoots her, and so the slight difference we get here is that Joel's not being pursued when he's carrying Ellie. I think this makes sense. I like the urgency in the game better, because like you have Ellie in your hands, right? So you're no longer like killing people and you're running. You're literally just running with your I say his little girl. Yeah, in a sense, with his little girl. And like at this point, you just need to get out. You just need to get out. Now, does that make sense that they don't pursue him down the elevator later? Probably not. But I thought in the game, the urgency and how scared I was, I thought in the game so much that while we were running with Ellie to this elevator, we were going to get shot in the back and die. I was like so sold on that. I was like, we're going to die. We're going to die. We're going to die. And like we got in the elevator. As soon as those doors shut, like the amount of relief I felt was something really cool that Naughty Dog, again, did with my emotions. And I think that was really neat. Not blood enough. This is a really close-up point of view if people believe that. Or closed up, yeah. She has played part 2 and she reads everything. Yeah. I'm sure season 2 will be back next year in January. Like everything. Like sometimes I'll get to like a journal and Drew's like, oh god, she's gonna read this whole thing. You have to read those parts, especially in this game, okay? You have to read the material in the game. It's not, is it meant to mirror the beginning with Sarah? Yes, 100%. I was going to say that. So, again, I'm going to talk about this in part 2. There's so many things I want to say about part 2. There is a big symbolism of Joel carrying Ellie like this. So we make it downstairs in the basement to the car, and we have our last stand of defense, which is Marlene. And we have Joel literally holding Ellie the exact same way that he was holding Sarah. And again, we have somebody on the other side, one person who's holding a gun to him and his little girl. Joel is not going to make this mistake again. He is not going to let somebody kill. I mean, I know she's not like actually planning to kill Ellie here. Obviously, she's trying to threaten Joel. Again, don't threaten Joel. Like, just like, have we learned that yet? Don't threaten Joel. But she's trying to give him like this one more time of like, we could fix this kind of thing. And he's not going to do this. And I love, here's what I got to give to Joel. You can argue all day whether or not he made the right decision. But what you can't argue is the man has made up his mind. And once his mind is made up, he will do anything to make sure that he continues on down that path that he has chosen for himself. So I think that's really amazing for an individual to have. Like, whether or not they've made the right choices, but the fact that he is following through and there's no regret from him is a big deal. It was interesting that your play was slow enough to actually show the pursuers stop and not shoot you because you were carrying Ellie. Yeah, like I think I got lost for a second. Like I went down like a wrong hallway and then I had to so when I got to the elevator, they like kind of caught up, but they don't shoot because like what Cheat was saying, like you're holding Ellie and if you kill Ellie, then you're in big trouble. I really missed the chase scene at the hospital where Joel is carrying Ellie. That part was like, again, this is one of those things. This show does not replace the game. And if you've seen this whole show and you decide to play part 1, you will still experience some things that you have never experienced and you will love it. Like, you will love it. So I highly recommend it. Ashley Johnson looks like she can be Bella Ramsey's mom. And doesn't she? There was some, like, similarity there. I saw it, too. Okay, I have a problem with this. The same problem I had in the game. Why is Marlene in the garage? How does she know Joel is going to be there? So here's my guess. First off, it took a long time for Joel to shoot his way through that hospital. So you hear gunfire everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Marlene was like, okay, I'm gonna head him off. Like I'm gonna like go to, like, he's obviously gonna find a way out. Best way out would be, to get a car and leave. So my guess is she was just smart enough to know like where he was heading. It makes sense. You go to the car garage to go to the car. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, and here's this problem again. Okay. So in this game, Marlene says she would have made this decision anyways. And do I think Ellie would have made the decision to sacrifice herself for this? I do. I do think she would have made that decision. The problem here, this is the part that's argued left and right and constantly. They didn't give her the choice to actually make that decision. And this is where Marlene messes up, because Marlene must have had some doubt that Ellie might not have actually made that decision, because she would have let Ellie say it. And if Ellie would have said it in front of Joel, guess what? Marlene kind of wins at that point. So the fact that she didn't give Ellie the option to actually discuss this, she must have had a little bit of doubt in her mind. And the only way I can think of like why she might have had that doubt in her mind is because she saw how much Joel cared for her. So if Joel Joel's like a different person, right? If Joel has shifted this much because of their journey, there's a chance that Ellie would have become a different person too. And Ellie might have decided, you know what? No, I'm not going to sacrifice myself for this. Find another way. And then, Marlene didn't give her the choice. Freaking Joel didn't give her the choice. No adult gave her the choice. And that's why we're left with like this conundrum of like, what was right? Ooh, originally Marlene was going to confront Joel in the surgery room. They altered it to give you a better sense of being pursued. Isn't that when they had that like singing moment? That was pretty funny. I saw the behind the scenes of that one. If I was a doctor, I would have been like, take her. I know. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this. Have her. Yeah, like, don't point a gun at me. The moment he goes on a rampage, they send out an alert on this. Yeah, like that's true too. Like, so she knows this is all happening. I mean, you could hear gunshot. You can hear a gunshot in a building. Are you kidding? So she hears tons of gunshots in a building. They are talking on the speaker, Joel, whatever. So she knew this was happening. She just met him in the garage. She did say she didn't want to scare Ellie. That's such a BS answer though. Like, come on. Scare Ellie. The girl, like, no, Marlene was trying to make herself feel better at that point. Like, that's not even, that's the dumbest excuse I've heard. Yeah, she said that, but I think that's weak. So weak. Marlene's trying to protect herself. Marlene, she doesn't like these decisions she has to make. So the less that she has to actually, like, see emotion from Ellie, from Joel, like, she can't handle emotion. That's why she just shot Anna. Like, she can't do it. She can't allow herself to do that. So if she would have seen Ellie and Joel say their goodbyes, Marlene might have broke too, and then that wouldn't have happened. So it's a mess. It's a whole mess. The biggest thing is Ellie was not able to make her own decision. It's always her choices, her future was in the hands of other people either way. So it's a big deal. I like to think that Marlene being the last line of defense for stopping Joel. Yeah, she was the last one. I like that too. Had Troy played Joel, just brown his hair and put some weight on him? Oh, I think Pedro did an outstanding job. I don't think Pedro Pascal playing Joel took anything away from Joel at all. His acting was wonderful. My favorite episode of this show. That's a really tough question. I don't have a favorite episode. I know that sounds weak, but I have favorite things. Here's what I will say. I will say that episode 3 with Frank and Bill is way up there as my favorite as a whole, because it's one of the only episodes that I don't think was rushed. It was the only one where they're just like, we're just going to let this whole story play out from start to finish. It was all new, so I got to experience something really unique and different from when I played. Was it missing some key moments that I wanted? Absolutely. But it just brought so much more to the story of The Last of Us that I didn't get from these other episodes. But like, I gotta say, like, seeing the bloater and all the infected was like a highlight for me. I really loved that whole thing. And then like the moments that mirrored the game so well were really great for me. Like the giraffe scene, Ellie yelling at Joel and Jackson, like, there's a lot of those. Okay, so then we get the scene where And I liked how they played this like they did in the game. You don't actually see what happens to Marlene initially. You get Joel, Ellie coming like to waking up, these conversations, and then it kind of flashes back to like what he actually did to Marlene. Again, very cold. But I think I have it here. Like, we literally have Marlene begging for her life. And we have this crazy line of, like, you just come after her. And we know this is true because this is what Joel would have done, right? Marlene wouldn't come after her because she cared for Ellie. Marlene would have come after her because she has to fulfill her purpose of, like, saving the world. She's, like, just like Ellie, Marlene has had to make so many sacrifices. She's had to turn off her emotions. She's had to shoot her friend. She's had to kill people. She's had to get here, and she's had to sacrifice her best friend's promise, like her promise with her best friend and her best friend's daughter. So she, like, if she turns back now, it was all for nothing. And so, like, she of course would go after Ellie, and Joel knows that. And so he has to, like, cut off, like, you gotta, there's all these loose ends that you need to finish off, and he does. Well, he thinks he does, right? Was way short. Could have added like 10 to 15 more minutes to let it breathe a little. Everything was rushed. Yeah. Episode 3 is weird for me to describe. I like it as a great episode of all-time TV, but I didn't like it as much of a laugh. So the problem was the lack of time we got with the rest of it, in my opinion. I thought Bella Ramsey did great as Ellie. I mean, of course, actually seeing Ashley Johnson and hearing her voice, I missed Ashley Johnson, right? I missed her, but Bella Ramsey did an outstanding job. I didn't have a problem with her playing Ellie at all. But I do want to highlight here. So Joel lies to Ellie. It's very much like the game where you're kind of like in this moment, you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to lie to her. He's lying to her. He's going to lie. He lied to her. Right. And you feel really sad for Ellie. Ellie at this moment realizes, like what I was just saying with Marlene, this was all for nothing. Like, how could this be for nothing? Like, her life, she wanted her life to matter. She wanted the lives of the people that she lost on the way to matter. She wanted Riley and Tess and Sam and all these people that they come across and lost. Like, if it would have been for her to actually make a cure, then their deaths would have made them more of like a hero. Like, they contributed to this wonderful thing that happened, but that's deprived of her, and it's because of Joel. Like, that's literally taken away. And so, again, this is another moment where Ellie becomes more broken. And Joel says sorry here after he says, you know, like, oh, there's dozens of people just like you, and they said they can't make a cure. And he says, I'm sorry here, but it's not an I'm sorry they can't find a cure. He says I'm sorry here, slightly different. It's really good acting. He says I'm sorry because he knows what he took away from Ellie, right? Like, he's saying sorry for what he just did in that hospital, even though he didn't say what he did. Oh, did stream cut out? Is it back? I like the lie about the Raiders attacking the hospital. Yeah, I like that additional lie. It makes sense, and it acts like, why is Ellie in a hospital gown? Oh, well, I had to rush you out of there. It was crazy. Like, that makes so much sense. Like, we don't have all of our weapons and stuff because I had to rush out of there. I think that just gave a good answer of, like, why she wouldn't question him more. And also, why a lot of Fireflies are dead. Like, now he can say, well, yeah, the Raiders must have killed them, but it was Joel that killed him. Do you think they'll recast for season 2 since Bella is an adult? She isn't getting any taller. She doesn't need to get taller. They'll just do her hair differently. You can make people. I know Bella kind of has like a baby face, but you can make her look a little older. She'll be fine. Different haircut. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, at first I thought it would matter. It doesn't matter. At first I thought it mattered that Ella's hair wasn't styled like Ellie's. It doesn't matter. As long as the acting is good, as long as we feel like she has been emotionally like hurt by the passage of time, it doesn't matter if she looks 14 or 18. As long as the history is there with behind her acting of like, I've had a hard life, she'll sell it. They can recast Troy and Ashley. I don't think they will. I think they're going to add some other people from part 2 in there. Give them some cameos. Okay. We did that. So then we have Ellie like out, like spacing out. She's questioning everything. I felt like in the show, Ellie knew Joel was lying. Like, I feel like, I don't know why. I feel like Ellie was sold that Joel was lying to her. And in the game, I felt like Ellie more questioned whether or not Joel was lying. But for some reason, I don't know if it was the acting or the slight change of wording here, but like, I think Ellie knew like 100% that Joel was lying. Was that just me? Bella's gonna have to lose a ton of weight. Yeah, well, she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to. But I like how they did change Ellie's body. Ellie looks... Yeah, she does. She's thinner. She's like... She doesn't take care of herself, is how Ellie looks in part 2. And I think that says a lot. Like, they never really address that directly, but you know, like, the stress, the way life treated her, and she does not take care of herself, it did show physically. I don't think that... I didn't catch that she looked any older. No, I didn't catch that. She looks the same to me. Just different outfits. In the whole series, we saw 1 bloater and like 2 clickers. What the hell? I've said it so many times. It's a budget issue. We'll see them in 2 and 3. I guarantee it. You want to bet? We'll see a lot more because now that this show has the backing behind it, HBO's like, here's more money. Go do what you need to do. Like, make this good. And they will. Time and budget were a problem here. I think Ellie knew it was Joel was lying. I think she just went along with it. So yeah. So like I was saying, in this show, like, I feel very much that she knew Joel was lying. However, she's also willing to kind of accept Joel's answer that he isn't lying because that takes the pressure off of her in a way to like fix it, to go back, to find the truth. And you kind of put that back on Joel. Like, okay, well, he told me that was the truth. And it kind of protects her a little bit. And I think Joel did that intentionally. Like, at first I was like, I can't believe he just said, yeah, I swear. Like, he had no problems lying. But to Joel, he's willing to take that from her. He's willing to lie to her face to protect her. And in the game, I felt like he did the same thing, but it just felt a little bit more gray area. Like, ooh, I think she might know. Does she know? She might know. Like, it was like that, but in here I was like, she knows. Bella's gonna have to stand on an apple box in season 2. It's fine. It's fine. See, we think these things are important. Like, we think, oh, Bella doesn't look like Ellie. I used to think that was important. They didn't do the hairstyle like Ellie. I used to think that was important. It's not important. The height doesn't matter. It's the acting that matters. It's their emotions and what they bring to the screen. I used to be like that too. I used to be like, oh, this doesn't look like her. She's not tall enough. She's not strong enough. She's not weak. You know, like, it's like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine if they can act. Ellie's a woman. Women can act, or women can detect lies. They're only waiting for the moment to be sure. She knows. She doesn't ask him for the truth. She asks him to swear. Yeah, so she doesn't, exactly. So she's not like, Joel, tell me the truth here. She goes, swear to me what you said about the fireflies is the truth or something like that. Like, she's like, swear to me. So, and he's like, I swear. And it's like, okay, she could have asked him to tell him the truth instead. It's a good point. So yeah, she asks him to lie basically, and he takes that from her. Like, he doesn't take that from her. He accepts that. He's like, I will take this burden from you. Yes, I swear. So really interesting. I can't wait to see Dina. We saw her for a moment. Yeah. They lived a lifetime in these 9 months. They did. Okay. This was cool. Not cool. Interesting. In the game, we didn't really get confirmation on what officially happened to Riley. We knew that Riley was dead or turned. And I'm like, gosh, I'm so glad we didn't have to see Ellie shoot her, or what happened. Did the fireflies come in and have to shoot Riley? Oh, well, don't know. Don't want to know. we find out here for sure Ellie had to kill Riley, which totally sucks. They set that up earlier on when she talks about the first person she had to kill. And we kind of argued the fact, like, does that mean Riley or does that not mean Riley? Because technically Riley would have been infected, and she said the first human she had to kill. However, if it's somebody you love, even if they're infected, I feel like you're going to view them as killing a human instead, like regardless of how far through the infection they are. And we got that confirmation here. Pretty sad. Okay. So, yeah, so here's the whole thing about her. And then, oh, and we had the whole moment where, like, Joel's talking about Sarah. So, again, just more proof how, like, fixed Joel is. Like, Joel is healed. Joel from here on out knows his purpose. He knows what he wants. He knows why he's alive. And he's okay with pretty much anything that could happen as long as nothing happens to Ellie, right? So he found a reason to worth living again. So he was talking about Sarah. He's made peace with Sarah, all that good stuff. And then he explains to her, like, no, like, you just need to find... He realizes that she's now on her own path to finding out her purpose for living. She had a purpose before, and now she doesn't. Like, and it's Joel's fault, right? Like, he kind of took her purpose away, though it's also the Firefly's fault. That's the whole argument, right? But now she doesn't have purpose. And he's like, no, you'll find purpose. You will. So, big deal. And this is what we were just talking about. Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true. So she's like, Drew was saying, she could have easily been like, Joel, tell me the truth. What happened? She doesn't. She says, swear to me what you said is true. Because if he says that, then she doesn't have the burden of, like, no, questioning the truth and finding the truth. She can just be like, okay, like, right? And she says that. She says, okay, like, she knows it's wrong, but, like, hearing him say that, it's kind of like, okay, now I can say it's your fault. It's your fault, right? So really cool thing. It ended the exact same, this close up on Ellie, her saying okay, and then scene with the music. Bye, tweets. It's also so sad, though, because it's clear he is using Ellie in a way. He wants to live his dad. Yes. Like I said, Joel is a very selfish person. He's very selfish. I don't argue. Like, I honestly can't say that I would do anything different than what Joel did. Joel believes he's protecting her. And since he went through this, like, terrible time of not having a purpose, he truly does believe, though, that she can be happy and she will find purpose. And that purpose will be in finding love, you know, like he did. But to kind of force that upon somebody is an argument. And saying that she would be the same as him is another argument. It's a mess. But that's what this is for. Like, there's, like, this whole ending is for you to interpret how you want and discuss how you want. Only a parent will understand. And, like, yeah, that's kind of a thing too. And that's really cool how they did that too. They started this off with Anna's love for Ellie, and they ended it with Joel's love for Ellie, and how that has shaped Ellie's entire life. Like, she is a very independent person in a sense, like, and she's learning to be more and more independent, but she's never really had any control of what happens to her. And it's quite frustrating for her and sad. And I think that's why, like, she decides to grab the reins on that so hard in part 2. Not to spoil too much. To change the music to the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. All right, guys. So, I'm going to have to kind of wrap this up here quick because I have some things I need to do, but I'm going to talk about part 2 now. So if you haven't played part 2, don't want to be spoiled about anything in part 2, I would suggest leaving now. I'm going to give you a minute to kind of, like, get the heck out of here because I'm going to talk about part 2 with I'm still going to kind of be gentle with the spoilers, but we will be talking about it. So get out of here. So part 2 and season 2 and 3 of HBO, obviously. So, go. What did you think of the cut you missed? The cut I missed. What cut did I miss? The show makes you want to play the remake again. Absolutely. The game has great replayability. I liked my replay. All right, guys, gonna talk about season 2. What do you want to see in season 2, The Last of Us, or wish to be slightly changed, like they did with Bill and Frank's story? Okay, I want to see all of the terrible things we had to go through in part 2. I don't want them to hold back at all. I'm really worried that in season 2 they might hold back because of the pushback they received from the game itself. I think that pushback should not have been received the way it was. I think part 2 was heartbreaking. It's a tragedy. There's so much tragedy and sadness in that game, and I wouldn't change a thing. I think it was so well thought out and so well done. I don't want them to change any of that, and I don't want them to hold back. What I would like expansion on, honestly, like I really enjoyed the character Jesse, and I really thought Manny had so much potential, so I would love to see more of them. Like Manny, like we got a little bit extra time with Jesse. Manny, I think, didn't get as much. I really liked Manny. I want a little bit more with them. Owen's story, I think we got so much great backstory with Owen. I don't think, like, they could expand on that a little bit with them and him and Abby, I think would be cool. But other than that, I wouldn't change from the game. Referring to the message above you missed. Well, I said that. So I said, like, we have her okay. We have the direct cut, which is exactly from the game, and then the music. And then I did read your thing, and it just, like, completely mirrored what I just said. So that's why I didn't read it out loud. Cheat. But, yeah, like, it was good. You want Manny's love nest? That needs to be in there. Yes. I'd love to know more about Manny. Well, like, and he has this really special connection with his dad and stuff. I just thought his character was really cool and really, like, fun. And I wanted to get a little bit more of that. Maybe I want to see the love life of, the jerk, bigot guy. From his perspective, maybe how he goes home every night and cries himself to sleep. While eating a sandwich. Yeah, the guy from the bar in Jackson. Oh, man, I really want Druckmann to not going to respond to the... Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, is not going to respond to the pushback. I think he really believed in his vision for part 2. I think that's super important. I'm so behind Druckmann on that. I think part 2 should stay the way part 2 is. It's a tragedy. It's not supposed to give you this, like, happy-go-lucky feeling. It's not supposed to end and be like, wow, that was so wonderful. It's supposed to end and make you, like, think about it for the next week and a half, right? Like, it's supposed to, like, really, like, cause you to have to search feelings that you weren't ready to search for. All Manny did was say, but spit at Joel. No, Manny had some good, like, cool things, I think, when on Abby's side. My bad then. No worries. I want to see that guy Seth that's called Ellie a bad word. Oh. What about a less infected in season 1? Should there be more infected fear? Yes, absolutely. There should have been more infected in season 1. Like I said, I bet you there's going to be more in 2 and 3 because they'll have a bigger budget. They'll have the backing for it this time. We didn't get enough, for sure. It was a problem. Manny's dad, the wolves keep kids. Yeah, like, and that's a really big deal, right? That there's children. They had schools for the WLF. They had the elderly at the WLF. People had jobs. Like the WLF, like just like all other like groups that take over from Fedra, like have these. You want to call them bad guys, but are they? Like, it's a really good point, and I loved Abby's small little conversation with Manny's dad and like how much he cared for his dad. Just connections like that I think are really important. Oh my gosh, yeah. The ending of part 2, like I literally I just stared through the credits and I was just like, I don't know how to process this. Like I didn't know how to process it. And like I would go to bed that night I went to bed and like the game was still running through my head, like holy cow. Like there was just so much going on. It was crazy. People that don't know the game are going to have issues with the agenda they think is being pushed. Yeah. Most gamers are open-minded. Most TV viewers aren't as open-minded. Yeah, but in the show, though, they were way, like kind of what Cheat was saying. They were, like, really straightforward with that. Like, I remember playing this game and then being, like, at the end when she's like, and we, you know, be poetic and lose our minds together. And I was like, oh, was that Ellie's girlfriend? I remember, like, thinking that, but I was like, I wasn't sure, so I was kind of afraid to say anything. And then they confirmed it in the DLC that, like, they had a thing for each other. And I was like, oh, okay. But, like, yeah, like, in this show, they just straight up were like, yeah, that they have a thing together. Well, I wasn't a fan of the story in part 2, so I hope they can make it better, fix plot holes. Ooh, what plot holes are you talking about? I don't think they can make that story worse. Wow, Colton, we had completely different experiences. I loved part 2. It's going to be Maria's child. Maria's child. Oh, wait, why is that going to be a big deal? Wait, do you mean that Maria had a kid in this one previously? Part 2 has been the best game Part 2 has the best game start screen with the boat and the reveal after you beat the game and how it changes. Yeah, I like that end. That gave me some hope, but I don't think that really confirms that Abby's okay. That didn't, you know what I mean? There was a lot of, like, it's kind of one of those things. It's like you can push through until you get to the finish line, but then after the finish line, like, you know what I mean? Like that adrenaline, that will to survive will last that long. But then once you get there, once somebody like Lev is safe, then you might give up and die, right? Like you accomplished your mission. So I thought that was a cool end. I don't think that confirmed that Abby's okay though. What do you think people will react if Abby's face model will have a cameo or act? Dude, she, like, the fact that people gave her such a hard time is so unacceptable. Abby and Dina's face models, I think, should be cameos. And I think Abby's appearance and everything, like, I loved her face model. That actress, the face, whatever. Like, if people give anybody a hard time, it's so pathetic and it's just so stupid. And it's like, you should not attack people over the internet because somebody wrote something you didn't like. Like, are you kidding? Like somebody wrote a story that you didn't like. I'm not saying like they said something that like you don't agree with politically or religiously or something like that. I'm talking about like straight up, you're going to give death threats to somebody's face, like because they have the same face of a character, a fictional character you don't like. How unacceptable is that? It's not even, it's so ridiculous. Oh, that's right. He's going to be a father. I forgot. How did I forget about that? That's right. That is a big change. That's a huge change. Yeah, Tommy and Maria are going to have a kid. I forgot about that. No, referring to the start screen. Yeah. The start screen when the boat is landed on the sand. Like how Abby runs into Joel and she saves her randomly and then willing to go to the mansions, making vulnerable. Yeah, they should keep all of that though, because the story of The Last of Us is about love and it's about revenge and it's about change and it's about finding yourself, and it's like it's about so much. And part 2 like expands on that in insane ways. And I think what Abby, like the fact that like that all happened with Abby, like the fact that she was willing to go through that, but then makes this huge change. And I talk about this at the end of my game playthrough. Abby's whole character arc is like she starts at the bottom and she makes good changes. Like she finds love, she finds Lev, she finds a reason to live like Joel did, right? For Lev. Whereas Ellie's kind of goes the opposite direction. Like Ellie thinks she's doing the right thing. She's literally on the exact same path as Abby though, where like she's like going for vengeance and like going to kill her. And it's just like, she's actually not getting better. She's getting worse. So, like I didn't find any part of Abby's story hard to follow, or I didn't think it was like a plot hole or anything. Like that felt right. Like, I wasn't happy about it. Like, obviously, I wasn't happy with what happened, but it felt like I could follow it. I do hope that too, Seth. I think the, like, very muscular Abby, like I'm trying to, like, a lot of times I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter if their hairstyle matches. It doesn't matter if they don't look like the character. However, I do hope that they have Abby be very strong and powerful, because the whole thing behind that, well, first off, it was just freaking cool. But secondly, the whole thing is like she had dedicated her life to kill him, right? Like her whole goal, day in and day out, like every single day she worked on getting stronger and more powerful, literally for the goal to kill one person, right? That's important. It needs to stay in there, I hope. Where do you guys think they'll split the season? Is my question. Do you think they'll leave it on the cliffhanger in the when Abby gets to the theater, and that'll be the end of season 1, and then season 2 will be Abby? How do you think they're gonna do it? When Abby was about to slit Dina's throat when knowing she's pregnant, that part was insane, right? And she doesn't, though. She doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Like Abby's whole character arc was like getting better. She was getting better. And Ellie was going the opposite direction. As much as I love Ellie, Ellie was going the wrong way. Laura Bailey is going to play Ellie? Or, I mean, going to play Abby? Is she? I think she's too old for that. Abby only looks like she's like 19, 20? Abby with those Dwayne Johnson muscles. They have to leave it at the theater. I think they're going to do that. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I got to close it up. I got to get out of here. You guys are wonderful. Hope I didn't miss much. Oh, you came right at the end. Goodbye, guys. Have a great time. This was my Last of Us review. So I'll see you guys for season 2 for this. Otherwise, I'll be on tomorrow to play Spider-Man. You guys are so great. Thanks for chatting with me. I hope we see 60 to 70% of Abby before the Joel thing. That's a lot of Abby time before. Oh, you're thinking like they'll do it in order. That's interesting. They could do that. Okay, I'm sorry to like get out of here so fast though, but I do have to go. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you tomorrow or on Discord, okay? Okay.